Hey guys, this November is going to be the storm. I believe Trump's going to win in a landslide for the simple fact is these Democrats have done everything they could to undermine the people. They're destroying America. And they're pissed off and going batshit crazy because Trump's trying to stop this mail-in election ballot stuff, and I don't blame him. I mean, if you're on disability and stuff like that, that's fine. But if you're able to go out and vote, you should go vote. And Nancy Pelosi and those far left Democrats, crazy batshit people, are doing everything they can to stop Trump from canceling mail-in voting, to stop mail-in voting. Well, Trump's not going to accept that. He's not going to accept mail-in voting no matter what they do. I mean, they can do whatever they want to do. They can keep fighting it, but I don't think it's going to happen. If it does, then America's going down too because they're going to cheat. They've already had dead voters that died years ago for the Democrats. They got people getting ballots stolen from their mailbox and people voting for them. And they have 250,000 votes that never got counted because they arrived too late. Then they found more crates of missing ballots that were mailed somewhere else. These Democrats are crazy. They're trying to cheat already. And if you don't see it, there's something wrong with you. And if you don't like Trump, that's fine. But everybody's got a past, all right? Everybody. I know a lot of you out there think Trump's a pervert, did this and did that. I don't think he did. It's all a bunch of lies. I don't care what you say. Now, if you said that about Biden, you got proof he's a little pervert. Look at all the sniffing videos he does with them little girls and women. Sick old man. This November there's going to be a big storm, and it's going to be a red storm. I do believe Trump is going to win by a landslide. There ain't no doubt in my mind. All the stuff that I see online and on TV, these Democrats done lost their damn mind. They are batshit crazy people. And the only thing they want is your vote. So they'll lie, cheat, they'll support BLM, whatever it takes to get the far left vote. And they can have that far left vote. They can have that dingbat crazy bullshit. Because we don't want it. But anyway, this coming November, the Red Kingdom is going to stand up. And the storm is coming. So folks, you need to buckle up and stay safe out there. Because if you're with the Red Kingdom, you're against the leftists, and they don't like that. If you don't stand with them, they're coming after you big time. So stand up and stay safe. Speak your truth this coming November in the red storm. Trump 2020, baby. Trump 2020. And if you don't like that, that's your problem.
Bill Barr expressing concern that an increase in mail voting will result in ballot fraud. Barr's comments come as more states turn to voting by mail amid coronavirus concerns. So how do we keep ballots safe and ensure that every vote is counted heading into the November elections? Former FEC Commissioner Hans von Spakovsky is a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation and manager of its election law reform initiative. Hans, welcome. Good to see you. So let me ask you, why should we worry about mail voting? After all, absentee balloting has a long history in this country.
Yeah, it does, but all you have to do is look at the many cases, proven cases of absentee ballot fraud to understand that the problem with absentee or mail-in ballots is they are the ballots that are most vulnerable to fraud, to being stolen, and they also make voters the most vulnerable to intimidation and pressure, things that don't usually happen in a polling place. All you have to do is take a look at the unfolding scandal going on right now in Paterson, New Jersey, which recently had a municipal election There have already been apparently 4 people arrested by the state attorney general, and there seems to have been a widespread absentee ballot fraud scheme, including stealing ballots out of people's mailboxes and voting the ballots of voters without their knowledge or consent. And that's what can happen with all mail elections and with absentee ballots.
Okay, I guess, all right, that's a fascinating example and really worth looking into. But let's talk about Oregon, for example. I think the Democrats would respond to you and say, hey, they've been doing 100% mail votes for more than one election, and that seems to have gone all right. So why can't we make it work if we want to make it work?
Well, because, look, Oregon doesn't really have the protocols in place to detect fraud, and I'll give you a very specific example of that from actually Washington State, which also has all-mail elections. I actually have a colleague who grew up in Washington State. She has not lived in the state for more than 8 years. She has a sister who also left 10 years ago, yet every election, ballots are mailed to her parents' home for the 2 of them, because the state thinks that they still live there. They could easily vote those ballots if they wanted to. The state would never realize the difference. Another just quick example is Portland, Oregon. Some years ago, a professor there did a survey in just one county. 5% of the individuals admitted that someone else had filled out their ballot, and 2.5% had admitted that someone else had signed their ballot. The state never detected that. That may sound like a small number, but translate that to the rest of Oregon, and you're talking about tens of thousands of votes.
Now we're in a pandemic, and there are a lot of people, older people in particular, who feel, you know what, it's not safe for me to go to the balloting precinct. So that's why I want mail-in ballots. And if you look at the polling, Americans seem to favor that for that reason. What's your response to them, and what's the alternative to absentees?
Well, look, we've seen elections held under worse conditions. Liberia held elections in the middle of the Ebola epidemic. And what they did is they put in the kind of safety protocols that experts are recommending. South Korea actually held its national elections in mid-April. 29 million people went to the votes, and they did all the things that have been recommended. They had line spacing for the voters. People were wearing masks. They had disposable voting materials like disposable pens to fill out ballots. They had sanitation stations, etc. There was no spike in COVID-19 infections, and the same is true in Wisconsin, April 7th, when they held their primary. They had 300,000 people vote in person. There's been no spike in COVID-19 because they followed all the same safety protocols, in fact, more so than what we see when all of us are going to the grocery store or our local pharmacies.
So your recommendation would be, look, let's have a normal election with social distancing protocols, and if we need to have more precinct workers, and you do that. Is that your recommendation rather than go to mail voting?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with people that are at the highest risk for various reasons voting by absentee ballot. But there's no reason for all the rest of us to do that when we can vote in person. That's also safer than handing over our ballots, trusting the U.S. Postal Service to deliver it or not deliver it, because that also is a separate, entirely separate problem with absentee ballots.
Right, and the Postal Service is now we don't have an election day. We seem to have an election month because people count ballots for sometimes weeks after the election. Quick response.
That, in fact, is a problem because the Postal Service does not always deliver ballots the way they should. All you have to do is look at the primaries in Maryland and the District of Columbia, which were held just within the last few weeks. They had huge problems because absentee ballots that had been requested by voters were not delivered in the mail in time for people to vote.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Von Spakovsky. Appreciate you coming in.